Hello, lovely people of the internet. I am aware that I'm a day late. Yesterday was kind of an off day for me, so I didn't actually get around to filming. But today, I finished a book, as in reading a book, well, listening to a book. I've been listening to this book on tape for the past week-ish. Got it from the library. It's good. It's really good. I wanted to talk about it today. So, 98% of the book was so good, but I can't stop thinking about that 2% that really made me question whether or not I would A, want to recommend this to my friends, and B, if it was worth it. Right? So 98% of the book was fantastic. I loved the romp that we got to go on. Fights with sea creatures, traveling at sea, conversations, incredible conversations with stowaways, and pirates, and thieves, and grifters, and magic. Did I mention the magic? And a mermaid. I love mermaids, okay? So can we just talk about the fact that 98% of the book was exactly what I was looking for, a perfect read. I have no complaints. Sure, it was a little predictable, but not like in a bad way. It was predictable in a really good way, where it was a comforting read, where it's like, this is gruesome, and violent, and bloody, and fantasy, and mystical, and I love every inch of it. It's like Pirates of the Caribbean, where everyone has magic. And no one is afraid of a little blood, right? Like, there's gore. Don't get me wrong, there's blood magic, which is really complicated, because there has to be blood in order to use the magic, right? Which means that it's gory, and if they were ever to make a movie out of this book, they would have to rate it at least PG-13, if not more. Like, in order to be, like, I don't know, it would have to have the same rating as the TV show Supernatural if it was going to be a movie, right? So, like, TV-14, I guess. All that to say, I enjoyed this book. I really enjoyed this book. I liked 98% of it. There was that 2% of it that I was angry about. I still think I would recommend this book because it's a fun romp through a fantasy world that's incredibly well built, deep world building, culturally, magically. Magic is imbued into this world, which is really cool. All that to say, if you're looking for a really good fantasy read, this is a good one. Especially if you're looking for characters of diversity and really unique takes on your typical princess story. If you want to read this book, now's your chance to click away. This is your only warning. There will be spoilers because it's all fresh in my mind, and I need to process it, so I'm going to process it with you. Yeah, this is your only chance. This is your only chance, so, bye if you don't want spoilers for All the Stars and Teeth. Cool. Alright, so, first of all, I want to say, I did listen to this book. I didn't read it, so I can't necessarily, like, give you the full-on, I physically held this book and read it perspective on how it reads. But I can tell you that it listens really well. I was listening to the audiobook, as I said, and I find that audiobooks are fantastic for when you want to read a book and you want to get stuff done at the same time. So, all that to say, this book is in first person. It's in first person present, which is interesting. It's been a while since I've read a book like that. Usually the suspense novels that I read are third person past. So it's a trend. It depends on the genre, often which version works best, because in order to build suspense, writing in first person present is not always the best way to go, which is why most suspense novels are not written in first person present. However, writing in first-person present for a YA fantasy or another YA adventure like The Hunger Games, for example, it's worth it. It's good. So, anyway, all that to say, let's just get into the story, shall we? First of all, magic is incredible. It has been a very long time since I've had encounters with books or writers who decided, you know what I want to do? I want to mess with magic as we know it. And that's exactly what this book does, okay? It's a far different taste of what magic and what magic could be, rather than like, I learn a spell, I cast the spell, right? It's a completely different thing where magic is built deep into this world. It is understood that there are not casters and non-casters. Everyone can learn or do magic in this world, which is incredible, first of all. Cool. Second of all, there's various different types of magic. Some of them are pretty similar to airbending, waterbending, or earthbending, so that's fun. There's time magic, where they speed up or slow down according to what they need. Like, you can't time travel per se, but you can cause something to have incredible speed, which is really cool. There's illusion magic, so people who go around changing their hair color, their eye color at will, they're incredible. There's subclasses of these magics, like, let me tell you, criminals with illusion magic, yeah, you better bet that means that they're changing the way that their faces look. You better bet that they're getting away with crimes without people ever knowing that they happened. You better bet that they're using that to the full extent of their capabilities, which is really cool. And I'm really glad that these were all put into this book. Also, okay. There's healing magic, which is cool, right? Like, I love having healers. It also puts a little bit of a tricky point in the plot, because if you injure a main character, you usually have to wait for them to be able to heal. You have to give them time. If you're traveling with a healer, or if you have a character that can get injured and not have any problem with the fact that they've been injured, like, there's the physical element of I'm in pain, but that can easily go away, right? So it's a risk any writer takes when they introduce a healer like that. I think Adalyn Grace did really well with using healing magic this way. There's times when she had to remove it from the equation in order to make it work, which I think was super cool and super smart of her to do that. To limit it to one person as well was pretty cool. At least one main person. Like, there were others, but you only really hear of this one guy who can do it. And then there's soul magic, which, can I just say that's really cool? Really epic? Also, okay. If the cover is a really good indication of what you're getting into with this book. I was just gonna put it up here again, because first of all, okay, all the stars and teeth. Let's talk about the title, right? Soul magic. In order to do it, you gotta use bones and blood and flame. And so having all of the stars and the teeth and the bones on the cover, also the sea animal imagery, like, the bones. The bones, man. It's beautiful and frightening and exactly the sort of gothic fantasy vibe I've been looking for my whole life and didn't know I was looking for. So that's really fun. Like, it's creepy if your ruler's crown is made of fish bones. That's creepy. It's creepy if your princess is walking through town, paraded through town, wearing bones as a crown and as shoulder plates, and it's creepy if on your princess's coronation as the crown princess to become the next ruler, you have to watch her do a public execution using magic. It's so cool, though! Okay, so soul magic is taking the power of your soul, binding it to the power of another person's soul, and exerting your will over theirs to devour their soul, more or less, right? And gosh, okay, political intrigue. First of all, we actually have a princess who's not just like a princess, but she's like a princess in every aspect of the political role that a princess plays. Like, it is her job, it is her duty. She has to rule, right? She cares for her kingdom, and like, that's, first of all, that's fun. It's been a while since we've seen a good actual royal princess. At least it's been a while since I've seen one. Granted, I haven't read recent books all that much. I'm pretty sure they're more common than I know. So that was fun. I love Amora. She's really cool, and I root for her the whole book, even when she's killing people. That's another thing. She's willing to kill people, which is great. That made me really happy. She reminds me a ton of Azula. So if you're looking for a princess who you can root for, who you want to win, but like is strong and willing to kill and brutal and ruthless, yeah, she's so cool. I love her. Second of all, the different subclasses of magic. I know I talked about this before, but like, the variations of soul magic that end up in this book, okay, cursed soul magic, for one. It's clever and terrifying and incredible, so thank you, Adalyn Grace, for introducing this into my consciousness. Secondly, the main villain, you hear about him, and finally he shows up, and man, does he show up. Let me tell you. I have a thing for villains. I love villains, and high school me would be freaking out over this villain. First of all, there would be, are you Team Bastion or Team Theric? Which is one thing. It's like the difference between, are you Team Peter or Team Gale, right? So there's that. Antagonist, fantastic. Protagonist, fantastic. Plot, a little predictable. You know where it's going if you've read books if you've read books before, you know where it's going. Okay. And this is where we really get into the spoilers, because I need to talk about the ending. First of all, the whole time, Theric is Amora's fiance, right? And so, like, you're supposed to ship them. You're not supposed to ship them. Amora doesn't like him. So, all that to say, you do very much ship Amora and Bastian, which is the point. You're supposed to, which is good. And then at the very end, see, we have a princess who loses her magic. The magic that she's grown up with, that she spent her whole life training how to control and use it and all of that stuff, and she loses it. Which is cool. And I was very worried. Very worried. I have texts proving it to my friends. I was like, don't ruin this now, right? I was very worried that she would get her magic back, and any character development that could happen from the lack of her magic would just go away. Thankfully, that didn't happen. However, I am a bit peeved about what did happen. Okay? So her magic that was attached to her soul got transferred to Bastian. And that bothers me, because the way that soul splitting and all of that works means that they are now tied together. They're stuck, which is a really interesting concept. The problem is I shipped them. And because of that, I wanted to be really happy that they would get together at the end. And then because of Amora as a character, and because of Bastian as a character, and because now they're forced together, it makes me really angry. And I don't get me wrong, Bastian, amazing consenting pirate that he is, I love him. He is more than a little aware of what this means, right? His soul has been cursed to his ship for the past however long. So he knows what it means. He knows he can't leave her, or she will get deathly ill, and it'll be a problem. She knows what this means as well. She knows that this means she cannot leave him, or she will literally die. She also knows that she wants to choose who she's going to spend the rest of her life with, because she wants it to be out of love, which I appreciate. I appreciate that she's not like, I love him, I wanted to be with him, and now it's kind of been, there's a damper, there's a wrench in that plan, but I still want to be with him, right? And they're still friends, so that's good. Okay, there's a sequel. I should probably read the sequel in order to make sure that I'm not just, like, being annoyed. All that to say, I understand that the plot of book 2 is probably find the cause of this curse, break the curse, have my freedom back, and then we can end up together, right? But this book would have been so good as a standalone, and now I'm annoyed because I have to go read the second book. Which, like, is the point of a series, and I know that, but, I wanted there to be a little more closure. I wanted there to be a case of her soul could have been cursed to an object, right? And, like, yeah, it's interesting and unique that her soul was cursed to another person, and therefore, because he was also cursed, right? Because of that, he is now carrying her magic and suffers under the same bloodline curse that she's had for a very long time. And so that's interesting. It's all very interesting. As an author, I'm like, the possibilities. As a reader, though, I'm annoyed. Because I wanted them to end up together. I wanted them to live happily ever after. And now there's a wrench in that plan, and 98% of the book was so good, but I can't stop thinking about that 2% that really made me question whether or not I would A, want to recommend this to my friends, and B, if it was worth it. Right? So 98% of the book was fantastic. I loved the romp that we got to go on. Fights with sea creatures, traveling at sea, conversations, incredible conversations with stowaways, and pirates, and thieves, and grifters, and magic. Did I mention the magic? And a mermaid. I love mermaids, okay? So can we just talk about the fact that 98% of the book was exactly what I was looking for, a perfect read. I have no complaints. Sure, it was a little predictable, but not like in a bad way. It was predictable in a really good way, where it was a comforting read, where it's like, this is gruesome, and violent, and bloody, and fantasy, and mystical, and I love every inch of it. It's like Pirates of the Caribbean, where everyone has magic. And no one is afraid of a little blood, right? Like, there's gore. Don't get me wrong, there's blood magic, which is really complicated, because there has to be blood in order to use the magic, right? Which means that it's gory, and if they were ever to make a movie out of this book, they would have to rate it at least PG-13, if not more. Like, in order to be like, I don't know, it would have to have the same rating as the TV show Supernatural if it was going to be a movie, right? So, like, TV 14, I guess. All that to say, I enjoyed this book. I really enjoyed this book. I liked 98% of it. There was that 2% of it that I was angry about. I still think I would recommend this book because it's a fun romp through a fantasy world that's incredibly well built, deep world building, culturally, magically. Magic is imbued into this world, which is really cool. All that to say, if you're looking for a really good fantasy read, this is a good one. Especially if you're looking for characters of diversity and really unique takes on your typical princess story. Like, Amora is the definition of I don't need no man, right? And it's fantastic because that way if she ends up with a man, it's because she chooses to, which is really cool, and I love that. Anyway, that's all. That's my rant on this book. I enjoyed it. Again, I would recommend it, with the caveat that I explained earlier in this video. If you like videos like this, let me know, and I can make more rant videos like this. I really just wanted to talk about this book, so I might do this with more books of mine that I read and own and enjoy. Yeah, that's all. So let me know if you enjoyed me ranting like this. Let me know if you've read this book and if you like it and what you didn't like it. Actually, whatever, you can tell me if you want. But, until next time, I'll see you then.